From the headlines that move us
to the plays on the field and the people making a difference.
It's news, sports, stories, and the people that keep our community alive.
This is the Heartbeat of Tampa Bay.
I'm Christopher Ingram.
And I'm Sarina Fazan. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
We have a fantastic guest here today, a friend of mine who is Erica Lutrick. I call her Chris, so if I call her Chris during our interview, it's me, because that's what I call her, but she's formerly Erica, and she is the founder of 5D Health and Fitness, which focuses primarily on women's health, women who are in kind of midlife.
Well, can I just tell you, Erica, though, you sitting here, girl, you look amazing. I feel like I need to go immediately, put on my workout clothes, and get to the gym.
Look at those guns. Show us those guns.
We
Come
can
on.
go right after this.
She'll put you to work. You'll
I
be
know,
like,
I'll take you up on it. No, you are just absolutely incredible. And
Thank you.
I mean, Christopher has been sharing more about you. I'm so thrilled that you're here. And oh my gosh, also, smart. Very smart. You know, your history and what you've done, and then things that have happened that led you to your career path now.
Wow, what an introduction. And can I take you home with me so I can hit play anytime I need a confidence boost?
But share your journey. I mean, share your journey with us.
So just personal health-wise, because I think this is where a lot of people can relate. I'm a workaholic and type A personality, working 90 hours a week, and no matter what happened, I just pushed through it, ignored it and pushed through it, kept going. And about 3 years ago, I started noticing little aches and pains. I wasn't rebounding as quickly as I used to. Recovery was an issue. And I'm going to fast forward through a lot, but what I thought was mechanical issues in my back turned out to be 2 additional autoimmune diagnoses. So I now have 3 autoimmune conditions and 2 that are immune mediated. So you can say 3 to 5.
Yeah.
But what happens is a lot of the symptoms overlap.
Right.
So things like I feel fatigued, like the crushing fatigue that enough sleep won't take care of. I have joint pain everywhere. Mentally, I don't feel as sharp, a little bit of brain fog. And so given that I'm in that midlife period between perimenopause and menopause, it gets sloughed off as, it's just your hormones, it's normal. And I'm thinking, normal? I feel like garbage. This is not normal. So it just took a while to figure out, okay, let's not focus so much on the symptoms. Let's take some steps back and focus on what's driving the symptoms. Because in our current healthcare, we don't focus on that. It is, got a headache? Take a pain reliever. Got a joint pain? Take a pain reliever. But when you kind of open the hood, do a little detective work, you can find some of those drivers. And so that's what I've been focused on.
So you're taking what you've learned through your experience and you're applying it to your clients, and you've got all this training in addition to 2 PhDs in psychology, but you've got a lot of fitness and health training, and you can do all sorts of things for women, like doing labs and interpreting labs and giving them a real kind of a holistic almost approach to getting on the right path to better health.
You got it. And going back to your question, what started this is I wasn't getting help from any of my specialists, and I had 7 of them. And so I started digging in, and I would just take certifications and education to and I put it all together, and I'm like, this is needed. We can start with basic lab work, not the labs that your doctors order, and we can get into that in a little bit more, but going back to health markers, what's starting to go off? And when we figure out what that is and address it, a lot of it is through lifestyle. Some of it's nutrition, and a lot of it is healing the gut. But when you start to pull in these different things from different systems, you see a world of improvement.
Well, and thank goodness for all your background in research and studying, and that brings to the forefront what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So, because I'm at that age as well. Like, I remember, honestly. Oh, yes. Oh,
Hey, you told me you were 39.
Oh, yes, that's right. I just tell everybody that. But I remember the days, it seems, even if I eat less, right, I still, it's the weight. And it's not just that, it's, you're talking about the gut, like the gut and the way you feel. And so Erica, talk to us about some of that kind of stuff. Like, what is going on? And it is more common than we realize, right?
It's common, but it's not normal. Okay, so it's common because many of us experience it, but there are some things that we can do within our own control to lessen the symptoms. So in general, kind of what happens is as we enter and the age differs, there are some women in their mid-30s starting in perimenopause. So, and if for those that have had hysterectomies, it's also going to change. So it's not age dependent, but estrogen starts to come down. Progesterone also starts to tank, and they don't cycle like they used to. We think of estrogen a lot of times it's just like that sex hormone, it's that female hormone, but it has inflammation effects. It tamps down the inflammation, it kind of controls it, it regulates how our neurology work. It has so many other effects. So when that protective device starts to wobble, all the other systems start to wobble too. So for instance, a lot of women have, wow, I'm getting all these food sensitivities. Okay, the food sensitivities are a symptom, so we got to back up and figure out what's causing it. Things like chronic stress. So by the time you hit this age, we're dealing with being in the peak of our careers. Trying to get kids out of the house or figuring out how they're going to get married. And then we're dealing with aging parents. So we're in that sandwich generation. And we're starting to go, okay, well, I feel different physically. I'm feeling different mentally. So all of that stress creates this whirlwind and things start to break down. So when we look at women in midlife, it's not just hormones. It's hormones, it's digestion, it's immune system, it's stress and cortisol, it's the ability to detox, like it's all the things.
So what can we do? And so what can we do about it?
What can we do?
What can we do? What can we do?
So a lot of times, and I see this often, if women have a good doctor that is, and they are willing to go on HRT, that's a very personal experience.
What is HRT for people who may not know?
That's hormone replacement therapy. Okay, so for women transitioning, it's, balancing the estrogen and progesterone, sometimes even testosterone as well, because they all have to work in sync. They'll start there, and finding good bioavailable is tough. Everyone's a little bit different from the formulation, but I still run into women going, but I'm on that, and my labs for my hormones look great, but I still feel like garbage. And that's a signal that that's not all that's going on, right? So when we have things like chronic stress for decades, which was what happened in my case, you've got the hypothalamus that's working into play, you've got all these other things. So I would say start with running some basic labs that are designed around health markers and inflammation, not the labs that our doctors run, which are basically designed to either rule out or rule in disease.
So what kind of labs are you doing that your typical doctor wouldn't do for a patient that comes in that says, I feel like garbage, I've got so much going on, what can I do?
Yeah, so I have access to a wide range of labs, but the ones that I typically like to start with that are foundational is let's look at your hormones. So we can do a deep dive. There's a test out there called the Dutch test, which is dried urine. So it's shipped to your house, you urinate on it, you let it dry, you mail it back. They can do everything, not only from your available estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, but also the metabolites. Because if your liver can't clear it, that estrogen is going to build up and it's going to recycle. So looking at the hormones is one. Cortisol. So here's something that a lot of times the labs that you get from your doctor's office get a little wonky. They'll do cortisol at one point in the day. What we want to be able to see is the overall pattern, right? cortisol should be the highest in the morning and then gradually start to decline at night. For a lot of us, especially if we're working, that cortisol pattern is wonky. So things like, in the afternoon, I'm just dragging, or 10 o'clock in the morning, I've already had my coffee, but I'm ready to go back to bed, or 9 o'clock at night, I'm wired, I'm ready to go, and I can't sleep. So that could be factoring in. So those are two. Gut inflammation. I think by now we've all heard of the term leaky gut. So anything that inflames the gut, anytime that barrier opens, what happens is it allows bigger particles to get into your bloodstream. So this is one of the tipping points for autoimmune conditions, which we can get into later, but that's going to set off your immune system. So making sure that that's working as it should and that it's healed is another. And then if we need to, we can dive into things like detoxification, food sensitivities, that kind of thing.
Okay, so Eric, you're the health detective, right? So you find that they've got cortisol levels that are out of range, hormones out of range, whatever else that you find through the labs that you do. But what's the next step? How can you help one of your clients in terms of recognizing those problems, and then here's a program to help solve them?
So one of the ways that I would think that I'm maybe differentiated from others is that a lot of times in the functional space, we still take an approach that's very allopathic, which means we get the lab results and then we treat the labs with the supplements. But I work with women to do a full intake to understand what's going on in your life. Where could this have come from? What's the history? And then we develop a personalized protocol to say what's going to work for you. The sequence of those steps is incredibly important, because if we find out, for instance, in your GI map that you've got something like H. pylori or parasites, God forbid.
And we know what parasites are, but what is H. pylori for
H.
people?
pylori is this very, very common microbe, and it's present in about 60% of people in the United States, and it's very highly transmissible. So a lot of people, when it's acute, will start getting acid reflux and GI, sometimes even bleeding. But by that time, it's already so aggressive and working that it has to be eradicated. But most people have it and they may not even know it. But where a lot of people that are like, I'm the gut repair person, they'll start with the gut. But if you have been in 30 years of chronic stress and you are burnt out, you got no reserves physiologically. And so when we start trying to kill off some of those parasites or rebalance the gut flora, it's too much too soon. So the sequencing is really, really important.
So really, I mean, it's just so important to know your body, to be in tuned to what's happening, and then to find someone like you, because there's so many things that, we as a common person may not know, where you have studied it so deeply. Again, you're the detective, right?
I'm the detective.
So it's so important to, again, right? To find out what's happening with your body, and then to reach out to someone like you that can help diagnose everything.
And you hit the nail on the head when you said to start listening to our bodies. We've forgotten how to. We push it aside and keep pushing forward. That's what women do, especially high-powered executive women with a lot of responsibilities. So even understanding hunger cues, or what do I really want to eat? What is my body telling me that I need to eat? And it's being able to help women also understand so that they don't need me. The goal is, I just want to help. I just want to help you get back to where you're going. Listen to your own body, so you don't need me anymore.
And would you say that you find with a lot of your clients that they hear the same thing from their traditional medical doctors, their primary care physicians, or their OBGYN, who says, oh, this is all normal, and they just kind of dismiss it and let's move on, or maybe take a pill, but not really get into the heart of the matter? And that's where you come in. You're different in that you're going to detect these things and then provide some solutions that don't require just popping a prescription drug.
Yes, there's a very almost polarizing term, but I think this will resonate with people, called medical gaslighting. So when you understand how the healthcare system works, and I supported the healthcare industry and corporate, on average, your doctors have between 7 and 11 minutes to spend with you. That's it. Okay, so by the time you get through blurting out the symptoms, the only amount of time they have left to spend with you is to write you a prescription to help you give some relief. They don't have time to ask all the questions and put all the information together. So a number of women have been back and forth with, it's normal, or yeah, that's not a thing. I had a primary care physician tell me that SIBO didn't exist. And for those that may not know, SIBO is small intestine bacterial overgrowth. So it's a condition that happens where the microbes that like to hang out in the colon, they migrate upward. And when they do, it creates havoc. But just understanding some of those things and having women go, finally, someone's listening to me. It's not all in my head, and it's not. It's not. And to be able to go to somebody and say, but what I'm feeling isn't me. I don't feel like myself anymore. And to get that validation is really huge, because I couldn't find it out there. So I'm kind of becoming the practitioner that I wish I had.
How are you different than what a woman who is doing a little cursory investigating about, you know, what's out there in terms of help, and they find these health influencers, fitness influencers on social media? How are you different than those people?
Okay, well, we can have a whole sidebar conversation about the fitfluencer world, which I just kind of scratch my head and go, oh, that's such bad information, or those people following you are being deceived because there's no way you eat like that and look like you do. I think one is lived experience. So having gone through the struggles myself, I mean, just the other day I went to my immunologist for a really bad allergy attack. And he told me that mast cell doesn't exist. It's not a thing. And I had to wait to get into my rheumatologist and describe the symptoms. I'm like, I've got dermatographia, I've got this, I've got that. And she's like, yeah, that's mast cell. So I think having lived through a lot of these and understanding is one, and also not everybody out there is gonna have autoimmune conditions, but the symptoms overlap with perimenopause and menopause symptoms. So trying to help people kind of understand, listen to their own bodies, and advocate for themselves so that they can make our healthcare system work for them.
And then find someone that, as you just said, Erica, like you've been through it, so you understand it, you've studied it. So find someone that can relate to you and to the conditions that you might be going through.
So a woman that's suffering some issues health-wise, they call you. What do you do? What are the 3 or 5 steps that you take them down a path to when they first come to see you?
Really great question. And while we're on that topic, I need to make it very clear where my scope of practice starts and ends, because I do not diagnose medical conditions, nor do I treat disease or medical conditions. So when we talk about symptoms or disease, that's downstream. It takes years for those to manifest. We go upstream and start looking at what are the drivers of health and how do we focus on those. Once we do that, a lot of the downstream stuff clears up. Not always. So first and foremost, I start off with a basic consultation just to even see if we're gonna be a fit, right? Because I wanna make sure expectations are set, and I can give you all good information, but I can't do it for you, right? So what's the commitment on the client's part to actually make some of the change? I've got very detailed intake forms that I kind of review and put together, get them started on some basic lifestyle changes, and that's where people go, ooh, now I gotta do something here. Sleep is probably one of the most underrated things that we can do for our health. And if you look at, especially Americans, we're underslept. The sleep that we do get is not restorative. We've got blue lights coming in, so there's things there. Movement, and then I hear, I don't have time to work out. I don't like have 3 hours a day like you do. You know, all these things. Sometimes going on a 10-minute walk after lunch and dinner, that enough is more than what you're doing now and is a way to get you started. And so I work with them to start where they are and then continually progress to a point where they're feeling better. So that's one. And then the labs come in, and based on their intake forms and their history, we work together to figure out where is a good starting point in the labs, and then what additional data are the labs telling us so that we can marry it together. Sometimes supplements are included. So when we think about supplements, this isn't just, oh, I saw that random TikTok and I saw an influencer say I should take this. We use supplements to either support where you are, substitute for what your body's not producing. So at this age, a lot of time our enzymes go down, so that can affect our digestion. Sometimes it's, alleviation. So there's specific reasons why we use supplements. And I only work with pharmaceutical grade supplements so that they don't have any extra additives or fillers. I found out that one of the supplements that I had gluten in it, and that was creating a reaction. So I go with trusted sources. So there's some education there. Once we've got a protocol, then we work on right sizing it. So what are the 2 to 3 things that we can focus on this week? Because overall, to do an entire lifestyle is huge and it's overwhelming. What can we start with that's manageable? And then we continue to build in from there.
Very good.
That sounds like such a great plan.
It's
No,
process,
seriously.
yeah.
Seriously. And it really does boil down to, I think, to liking somebody and trusting somebody, right? And if you have that connection with somebody, and there's also proof in the pudding. I mean, look at what you look like, Erica.
Oh,
She
you're
looks
very
great.
kind.
You look
the
you're
guns
very
on her.
kind.
Yeah,
Come on, give
no,
us a
but honestly, it's I mean, you
I
look
walk the
fantastic.
talk. I walk the talk.
Yes,
She
you
definitely
walk the
does.
talk. You
And
walk the talk.
Definitely does.
I'll meet people or a prospective client will ask me like, well, what's the diet that I should be on? I'm like, the one that works for your body. I have been on so many different nutritional protocols that worked for a period of time and then didn't. Going back to what you said earlier, it's learning to listen to your body. So, and Christopher, I know you mentioned like the influencers and what have you. So one of the things that we've got out there right now is carnivore versus vegan. And there's like this battleground of who's right. And it depends. Even on keto, if you can't digest fats, you don't need to be on a keto diet because that's high fats, right?
Everybody's different,
Yeah,
right?
Everybody is different and their bodies react differently.
Okay, you have a website,
I do.
and your website is your company name, 5D Health and Fitness.
5, the number 5, D, healthandfitness.com.
And tell us, what are the 5 Ds?
So the 5 Ds really came out from the dimensions of health. So we don't look at health as just physical. Health is physical, but it's also mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual. So we look at things from all of those dimensions. And I give an example. I've seen so many women that they are committed to making changes, but their family sabotages their efforts. They go to a family function and there's lots of food and they're pressured to eat food that they don't agree with. So it's also identifying what are the other factors that are either going to facilitate your progress or potentially create an obstacle. And then how do we do risk mitigation planning so you don't get sabotaged? And
Stay away from those relatives.
that is why all of those different dimensions of health come into play.
Very good.
Wonderful.
Well, Erica Lutrick, we thank you so much for joining us here today to share some of your wisdom. And again, people can find you on your website, 5dhealthandfitness.com.
Yep, and on Instagram.
And on Instagram. All right.
Thanks so much for joining us,
Thank
Erica.
you for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Every story shared,
Adds another heartbeat to Tampa Bay.
from courage to community.
We are so proud to tell the stories that keep our neighborhood strong.
Thanks for watching The Heartbeat of Tampa Bay. You're amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What great information you got for people.
I thought it was fantastic.
Really?
Yeah.
You did great.